Hello everyone. If you're like me and you've heard music before, then you're probably in some way familiar with the 4-chord song. They have been a staple of pop music for a very long time now and are still prominently used today. And if you want a list, you can go to Wikipedia or you can just watch the video by Axis of Awesome called the 4-chord song. A video that was so popular that the 4-chord progression we're talking about today was actually named the Axis progression after them. It looks like this. We go from the 1 to the 5 to the minor 6 to the 4. In the key of C, that would be C, G, A minor, F. Now, why does this sound so good? Well, there's actually some excellent theory behind it, and if you want to dive deeper, I've put some links to some really great videos discussing it in the description below. But for the sake of this video, we will just accept that these 4 chords sound good to us, much in the same way that flowers smell nice or pizza tastes good. It just does. Rather, in this video, I want to look at all the varieties of the 4-chord song, you know, the pepperonis, the green olives, and yes, even the pineapples, to see just how far I can stretch this metaphor, and also how far you can really go with only 4 chords. So without further ado, here are 9 variations of the 4-chord song, brought to you by Floki. So to start off, we'll start off with the progression I already talked about. That is the 1, the 5, the minor 6, and the 4. This is what I would consider to be the base form of the Axis progression. It's probably the most common. You've heard it in a ton of songs. Here are just a few. Now, I promised I wouldn't get too much into theory, but I just can't help myself. So we're going to talk about one concept. I'll keep it real quick and simple, and that's the idea of stable and unstable chords. So in this progression, we have 2 stable chords and 2 unstable chords. Now, a stable chord is a chord that sounds like it has a resolution to it. It has a low tendency to need to move to another chord. In our progression, that's the tonic, which is the home base of the key. It's the most stable chord we have. And the minor 6, which can function as a substitute for a tonic, for reasons I'm gonna breeze past here. You're just gonna have to trust the YouTuber. Unstable chords, on the other hand, create tension, and they have a strong desire to resolve to a more stable chord. In our progression, that's the 5th and also the 4th. The result is that in the Axis progression, we have a really nice seesaw between stable chords and unstable chords. It's just this really nice back and forth of tension and then release. And we'll see how this pattern evolves and changes over the rest of our variations. Okay, so let's dive into our second variation, and this is super fun. We basically can just take the same progression and just change where we start. So shifting all the chords one section over. Now we're going to start on the 4 and then go to the 1 and then the 5 and then the 6. And here are a couple songs that use this variation. So this variation is slightly less common than the previous variation, and I've got maybe a suspicion why. I think it's because we start at an unstable part of the chord progression and then move to the stable. So we start unstable, go to stable, unstable, go to stable. Man, this is starting to sound like my early 20s. But the fact that we start at an unstable point is just a little bit more unique. And the fact that we end at a stable point makes the progression a little less loopable. There's just a brief pause each time that we go back to the beginning of the progression because we feel a resolution, we feel an end. Contrast that to the last progression. At the end of it, we can't stop here. We've got to go back, right? So it just keeps on pushing us forward and back, right? This one just pulls you through the song. Anyway, no more theory. That's not the point of this video. Let's go to the next variation. So we shifted the chords over and now we're back to a very, very popular, maybe just as popular as the first variation, the more minor brooding version of it. One where we start on the minor 6, go to the 4th, to the tonic, and then back to the 5th. You'll recognize a lot of these songs. We have now rotated through and we're on the last version of the axis progression. This is the 5 to the minor 6 to the 4 to the 1. Now, of the 4 variations so far, this one is definitely the least common. Like variation 2, we start at the unstable chord and go to a stable chord, unstable to stable. And there's really only a couple songs that I could think of that use this progression. So now we've done the full wheel of the axis progression, but can we change the order of these chords to get a new unique sound? Yes, obviously, we're only halfway through the video, which is probably a good point to shout out today's sponsor, Floki. Floki is a piano learning app with thousands of songs you can learn, all in various difficulties depending on your current skill level. It can help you optimize your practice with its wait mode function. Floki can listen to hear which notes you play and wait for you to play them before moving on, enabling you to take things at your own pace. You can also use their slow mode, you can loop sections, and work one hand at a time, all great ways to get the fundamentals down. I really think this is a great app, particularly for beginner and intermediate players, and if you're looking to brush up on your piano, I'd recommend trying it out by using the link in the description for a free trial. Okay, so we've shifted the order of our chords a bit and we've jumped into a time machine and gone back to what's known as the 50s progression, the doo-wop progression, or my favorite name for it, the ice cream changes. It sounds like this. We start with the tonic, we go to the minor 6, we go to the 4th, and the 5th. Let's look at our stable and unstable chords. So now we've got 2 stable chords right next to each other, followed by 2 unstable chords also next to each other. So it's still a seesaw, but it moves about half as fast as the axis progression. This gives it a more dramatic resolution as we are unstable for longer, but it also gives it a bit more finality. Each time we go back to the beginning, we only get one big moment of tension and release versus 2 smaller moments as seen in the axis progression. As such, it doesn't have quite as much motion as the axis progression, that constant motion of tension and release, which could be part of the reason why we don't hear it as much anymore today. In addition to the fact that tastes change and music trends evolve, and this progression was used a lot in the 50s, so now it kind of feels of a time, a little bit dated in a way. And we're on to variation 6. So just like the axis progression, we can just move to a different starting point in this progression. There's not a lot that start on the minor 6 or the 5, but I did find a couple songs that start on the 4th. So it's going to sound like this: 4 to the 5 to the 1 to the minor 6. Now, as we saw before with the axis progression, this version of the ice cream changes is a lot less common than its counterpart because it starts at an unstable position. It's just not immediately clear to our ears what key we're in. So in the case of Rude, we are in the key of C, but we start on an F. So we think, well, maybe we're in the key of F. That's what our ears hear. But then we go to a G, which does not belong in the key of F. And then we go to a C, and that feels like, okay, that's the tonic, we've reached it. But then we go to an A minor, and then we think, well, maybe we're actually in the key of A minor, the relative minor of C. So what key are we in? Are we in C? Are we in A minor? Are we in F? There's just not a lot of obvious clues right away. And pop music in general likes to give us obvious clues to make the songs easily digestible and appeal to a really large audience. I would argue that this version is a lot more interesting because of it, but maybe that's also because it just hasn't been used quite as much. And we're on to variation number 7. Now, for the first 6 variations, we have used just the same 4 chords, only the 1, the 4th, the minor 6th, and the 5th. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about a few common substitutions that if you're not listening carefully, you might not even notice they had actually swapped out a chord for one of our 4 chords in the progression. So the first of these would be to substitute out the minor 6 and actually put in the minor 2nd. So if we go back to our very first variation, we start on the 1, we go to the 5, now we go to the minor 2nd, and then we go to the 4th. Now, like I said, we are adding in a brand new chord, so we're kind of breaking the pattern that we've established so far, but it's one that is kind of hard to catch. In fact, I had been playing Closing Time by Semisonic wrong for a very long time because I thought it was our first variation when in actuality, it's this variation, variation 7. This variation is really great if you want to mix up the access progression ever so slightly while still maintaining the same general feel. Sticking with the supertonic, we're going to put it in a different spot, and this time we're going to take out the dominant. So it's going to sound like this. We're going to go 1, then to the 2, not the 5, and then to the 6 and the 4. Personally, this is one of my favorite variations. It still feels so fresh to me. And I discovered it again when I heard Pink Pony Club by Chappell Roan. And this last variation may be, in my opinion, a little bit of a stretch, but if it's good enough for the Wikipedia page, it's good enough for me. Plus, I just really wanted to play this example song because I just love the song. So the variation is, we start on the 1, we go to the 5, then we go to a flattened 7th, and then to the 4. Oh, good, I was in the right key. Whew. Yes, this one's got a nice bluesy addition to it. It's the first time that we're borrowing outside of our diatonic scale, so we're getting a non-diatonic chord, which is that flattened seventh, into our mix. And yeah, to me, we're kind of veering off the edge here. So I think that this is a good place to stop. But hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun running through all these examples. And look, the 4-chord song can sometimes get a bad rap because it's hardly harmonically interesting. But hopefully this has shown you that there are many different ways to play around with the structure. And at the end of the day, if I just may step upon the soapbox for a moment, a chord progression is just one tool of many that goes into writing a song and is often a tool that gets perhaps more attention than it really deserves anyway. He says after making a 15-minute video about it. If you like this sort of video, please let me know in the comments. This is only my second video essay. You can check out my first one over here in which I discuss Disney and the chord that makes all of their music sound magical. And once again, I want to thank Floki for partnering with me for this video. Check out a link for a free trial below. And I want to thank all of my patrons who help make this work possible. Thank you, as always, for your support. Until next time.